Hey Prepsters, it's once again me, Mr. Zimmerman, and now I have my parents' cat, the cat I grew up with, Dante. Dante, say hello. Hello everyone. Okay, he's gonna get mad if I don't let him go. Alright, so we're now here for our third lesson in talking about dividing parts of wholes and numbers that are more or less than 1. And this is by far the hardest one we're going to deal with the entire week. And that's when you start with a fraction and want to divide it by a whole number. So in this problem we have kind of an interesting situation. We're going to say that I have 3/4 of an apple that I want to split amongst all 4 members of my family. So my mom, my dad, my brother, and myself. So the problem we're going to be solving is 3/4 divided by 4. Which, when you think about it, is when you have a fraction divided by a whole number. And so in this case, the number 4 is more than 1. So I want you to think right now, what should happen if you take a fraction divided by a number more than 1? Should we get a larger quotient or a smaller quotient than 3/4? Just think. Go ahead and discuss with your team. So what you should have come up with is when we divide by more than 1, our answer should get smaller. Which of course makes sense. If I only have 3/4 of an apple to split with my 4 family members, I'm going to have to cut this apple up and make it smaller for us all to eat. So how do we actually solve it? Well, the problem I have right now is I only have 3 pieces of an apple, and each of these cups are for my family, and I can't put the 3 of them in here because someone's not going to get an apple. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut each of my apple pieces into 4ths because I see that I have 4 family members that want to have apples. So I'm going to cut them right now. We're going to pretend that they're all equal, even though they're not. Again, I'm not very good at cooking. Okay, so when I count my pieces right now, I have 12 pieces of apples. But the question is, what is this out of? Is this 12 out of 12 or 12 out of something different? Well, it can't be 12 out of 12 because 12 out of 12 would be 1 whole. It has to be 12 out of some other amount. Well, if you remember, this wasn't my entire apple. This was only 3/4. The other 4th of my apple is right here, but for this problem we're not going to include it. So what this really represents right now is 12 out of 16 total pieces, because if I cut that other piece up, I would have 16 total. And if you don't believe me, I have a picture to show you right now with some math. So here you can see, if I take 3/4 and multiply by 4, I get 12 over 16. So if I start with 3/4 of an apple, that's the same thing as having 12/16. Okay, even if you don't quite believe me, you're going to have plenty of time today in class to figure it out. So now my final step is, if I have these 12 pieces, how am I going to give them to everyone in my family so that we all get the same amount? Well, all I'm going to do is just drop them off into my cups equally and see when I run out. Everyone has 1 piece right now. Everyone has 2. And now everyone has 3. So this represents my amount of apples. So let me pour it out. I see that I have 3 pieces of an apple. But out of how many? This is my part. What's my total? Well, a moment ago we just said the total was out of 16 pieces, because if I cut my whole apple up into these sizes, it would take 16. So my answer is 3/16. So what I want you to do right now is to turn and talk with your partners. What happened when I divided 3/4 by a whole number? Was my answer larger or smaller than what I began with? Go ahead. Alright, hopefully you paused it and you had a conversation. The answer is, of course, this is smaller. I mean, this is not much of an apple. So when I divide a fraction by a whole number, I get a smaller amount. Your teachers in a moment are going to show you how you can solve this exact same problem, only instead of cutting up apples, you can solve this problem by using a picture.